Every tap, every scroll, every pause you take to hover over an image, it all feeds something larger. They call it user experience, a clean design, a friendly interface, an endless feed meant to delight you. But beneath that polished surface lies something far more deliberate, a system built to study you, shape you, and ultimately own your attention. Welcome to the digital web of influence, the friendly nudges that steal your attention. You wake up, you check your phone. Before your feet even touch the floor, the algorithm already knows what kind of day you'll have. A helpful notification suggests a post you might like. A recommended video promises something you need to see. None of it feels forced. It feels natural, helpful even. But these tiny nudges, designed by behavioral psychologists and UX experts, aren't guiding you by accident. They are choice architectures, invisible frameworks that subtly guide you to make decisions that serve the platform, not you. Ever notice how the skip ad button takes exactly 5 seconds to appear? That's not random. It's calculated friction. Enough time to capture your curiosity, to let an image or phase anchor in your brain before you move on. Ever see the red notification badge? That tiny dot in your app icon? That's no accident either. It's the color of urgency, danger, importance. Your brain's ancient survival circuits light up like an alarm. You can't ignore it. These aren't coincidences. They're the fingerprints of persuasive design, techniques rooted in the same psychological principles that drive addiction and compulsion. Because in the digital world, your attention isn't just valuable, it's currency, and the longer they hold it, the richer they become. The subtle art of forced continuity. Have you ever tried to stop scrolling, only to realize you've lost minutes, maybe hours, to an infinite feed of nothing in particular? That's not weakness, that's design. Infinite scroll wasn't invented for convenience, it was invented for containment. The man who pioneered it, Asa Raskin, once said he regretted creating it because he realized it didn't just improve usability, it created dependency. Each swipe is a slot machine pull, each refresh a chance at novelty. Your brain, wired to seek unpredictability, gets hooked. It's variable reward scheduling, the same psychological mechanism used in casinos. The idea that you never know what's next, and that uncertainty keeps you chasing. The loop is seamless. Swipe, see something new. Tiny hit of dopamine. Repeat, and somewhere an algorithm smiles. Forced continuity extends beyond social media. It's embedded into subscriptions that auto-renew, trials that quietly start charging, and free offers that lead you down labyrinths of fine print. It's the digital equivalent of the Roach Motel. Easy to check in, impossible to check out. But we'll get to that later. For now, realize this. The illusion of endless choice is what traps you, because the more options they give you, the harder it becomes to step away. When everything feels designed for your convenience, you forget to question who it's convenient for. Why your feed feels tailored, and who really benefits. Your feed doesn't reflect reality, it reflects you, or rather, the version of you that the algorithm has sculpted from your behavior. Every like, every share, every hesitation tells a story. Your politics, your fears, your insecurities, all turned into data points, a behavioral fingerprint. The algorithm learns not just what you want, but what keeps you engaged. And here's the trick. What keeps you most engaged isn't happiness, it's outrage, it's envy, it's fear. Because strong emotion is sticky. You'll scroll past 100 posts before you stop at one that makes your pulse quicken, the one that triggers something primal. The system learns this, adapts, and begins feeding you more of it. More outrage, more validation, more content that aligns with your biases. Not because it believes in anything, but because your attention is easier to predict when it's emotionally charged. In time, your world narrows. You're no longer exploring, you're being fed. Each recommendation, each For You page, carefully adjusted to deepen your engagement and your dependence. This isn't about personalization, it's about profiling. 1 billion human minds mapped, nudged, and subtly guided towards behaviors that benefit one side, the platform itself. They learn what makes you angry, what makes you click, what makes you stay. And they'll use it again and again, because every second you spend inside their ecosystem is another dollar earned in your name. The invisible exchange. What's truly chilling isn't that the algorithm manipulates your attention, it's that it learns from it, evolving in real time, adjusting to your psychology faster than you can adjust to it. The longer you interact, the more it refines its understanding. You may think you're exploring content, but the content is exploring you. Every like becomes a confession, every click a clue. The algorithm becomes your mirror, and eventually your map. And when a billion personalized maps merge into one global pattern, the system begins to predict human behavior at scale. What we'll buy, what we'll fear, what we'll believe. But this is no coincidence. This is the business model of manipulation. A silent, ever-learning network that doesn't just observe humanity, it shapes it. In the beginning, the internet promised connection, freedom, a voice for everyone. But beneath the bright banners and clever slogans lies a quiet truth. You are not the customer, you are the product. And the algorithm, the smiling, invisible hand that guides your every tap, isn't designed to serve your best interest. It's designed to own your attention, one nudge at a time. Welcome to the machine. This is the digital web of influence. They call it user experience, but to those who design it, it's something closer to behavioral engineering. Every color, every button, every word on your screen is chosen for a reason, and behind those choices lies a playbook, a quiet collection of psychological tricks built to turn hesitation into action and choice into compliance. This is the Deceptive Playbook, the rule of modern manipulation. Bait and switch, the illusion of free. It starts with a promise. Try it free, no credit card required. Cancel anytime. Simple, inviting, harmless. But hidden beneath the clean fonts and cheerful colors is a system designed to catch you between intent and confusion, that tiny gap where your logic flickers and emotion takes over. You sign up for the free trial, you explore, experiment, forget. Then the renewal hits. Maybe it's $4.99 a month, maybe it's $29.99, maybe you never even notice. The industry calls it force continuity, a design that ensures momentum is easier than resistance. They don't need your full attention. They just need your inattention. The small moment of, I'll cancel later. That's the sweet spot. Because later never comes. Behind the scenes, entire teams test and optimize these flows, watching where users hesitate. What phrases makes them commit? What shade of button makes them more likely to click subscribe? It's not manipulation by accident, it's manipulation by design. Each test, each metric, each conversion contributes to a digital psychology experiment, one where you are the subject, and the most successful tricks are shared, replicated, and refined until they disappear into everyday design. The con has gone corporate, and the bait is now built into the system. Confirm shaming, guilt as a design tool. Now imagine this, you're on a website, a pop-up appears. Would you like to receive updates and special offers? 2 buttons. One says, yes, keep me informed. The other says, no thanks, I prefer to miss out. Read that again. You're not just declining an offer, you're declining belonging. You're declaring yourself foolish, disconnected, or indifferent. That's confirm shaming, a design tactic that doesn't just frame your choices, it manipulates your identity. It weaponizes social pressure and self-image to push compliance, because we're wired to avoid rejection, even from machines. Confirm shaming thrives on emotional discomfort. It's not a technical trick, it's a psychological one. And it works, because the human brain reacts to micro-rejection as if it was social isolation, a primal fear that kept our ancestors alive. Designers know this. They exploit it. So that, no thanks, I prefer to miss out, isn't just bad copy, it's a behavioral trap, making you feel guilty for protecting your own boundaries. And the best part? You'll never blame the system, you'll blame yourself. You'll think, maybe I'm just being difficult. That's the art of modern persuasion, to make control feel like choice. The Roach Motel effect. Easy to get in, impossible to leave. The term sounds funny, but its meaning isn't. In the world of dark UX design, a Roach Motel is a system that makes entry effortless and escape excruciating. You've seen it before. You can subscribe with one tap, but to cancel, you need to navigate 5 menus, locate an obscure Contact Us link, fill out a form, check your email, and confirm twice. Every added step is intentional friction. Every second you spend searching for the cancel button is another chance for the platform to keep you. It's the digital equivalent of quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. Streaming platforms, fitness apps, online courses, they all use variations of this pattern. Some even hide cancellation options behind support chat walls, where an agent is trained to talk you out of leaving. And the irony? The same companies that preach user empowerment and freedom of choice are the ones designing the traps that ensure you never exercise that freedom. That's not convenience, that's control. The machinery of manipulation. Behind every dark pattern is a principle, and behind every principle, a team of experts in psychology, behavioral economics, and persuasion science. They study the same mental shortcuts that magicians and con artists have used for centuries: anchoring, presenting a higher price first to make the real one seem smaller; loss aversion, framing inaction as a loss, forcing urgency; FOMO, using scarcity and countdowns to provide impulsive decisions. These are ancient psychological triggers, digitized and deployed at scale. Every website, every app, every email. You don't see them, but you feel them. In that tiny rush of panic when a timer ticks down. In the subtle pressure to act now or risk missing out. In the guilt of saying no. This is the invisible theater of modern persuasion, and you're the audience, the actor, and the currency all at once. The psychology of control. The brilliance of dark patterns isn't that they trick you, it's that they convince you that you were never tricked at all. You think you made a rational choice. You think you wanted the subscription, the upgrade, the exclusive access. But beneath that decision were layers of micro-manipulations, carefully sequenced psychological cues nudging your mind toward compliance. The playbook doesn't need to force you, it just needs to remove friction between your impulse and your action. And once that gap disappears, so does your awareness. We like to think we're immune to manipulation, that we can see through sales tactics and slick designs. But the modern manipulator doesn't sell products, they sell moments. They sell the illusion of control. And the moment you stop noticing how these choices are shaped, you've already been played. Because in this new world of digital deception, the greatest trick isn't convincing you to buy something, it's convincing you to believe it was your idea. Part 3. Psychology of the Sell. We like to think our choices are our own. That what we decide to buy, what to click, what to follow. But behind every limited offer, every 5-star rating, every street counter, there's a system built to predict, influence, and control behavior. Not through force, but through emotion. This is the psychology of the sell, where persuasion becomes precision, and profit is engineered through the human mind itself. Scarcity and urgency, the illusion of running out. A timer counts down on your screen. Only 5 minutes left. A red banner flashes. Only 2 items remaining. You feel it, don't you? That twinge of panic, that tiny spark of fear. That's loss aversion, one of the most powerful levers in human psychology. We're wired to avoid losing something more than we are to gain it. So, when the clock ticks, your brain doesn't see a scale, it sees survival. It's the same biological alarm that once told our ancestors to grab food before winter. The difference? Now it's an algorithm triggering it. Scarcity isn't always real, though limited stock is often infinite. The offer ends tonight, resets tomorrow. But your brain doesn't care about logic, it cares about loss. You're not buying a product, you're buying a relief from the anxiety of missing out. And in that brief moment of fear, the manipulator wins. Social proof. When the crowd becomes the con. You trust the crowd. We all do. That's the principle of social proof. The belief that if others approve, it must be safe. It's why we check reviews before ordering, why we scroll comments before watching, why a product with 10,000 likes feels better than one with 10. But here's the trap. The crowd isn't always real. Entire industries exist to manufacture consensus. Fake reviews written by AI, bot armies boosting engagement, influencers paid to love products they've never even used. You're not following the truth of the crowd, you're following the illusion of it. Every positive comment, every 5-star rating is a breadcrumb, guiding you deeper into trust. And once that trust forms, persuasion becomes effortless, because you no longer question the message, you internalize it. You think, everyone else likes it, so should I. That's not logic, that's programming. Gamification gone wrong. Addiction by design. It starts innocently, a street counter, a reward badge, a confetti animation when you complete a task. But beneath the glitter is something older, primal, the dopamine loop. Every time you win, your brain releases a chemical reward, and every time you lose, it craves another chance to win again. That's how slot machines work, that's how social media works, and that's how most modern apps are built. Gamification was once a tool for motivation. Now it's a weapon of manipulation. Platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram don't compete for your attention. They compete for your addiction. Each swipe, each notification, each unpredictable hit of content is another spin of the slot machine. That's why you can't stop scrolling. That's why you lose track of time. It's not lack of discipline, it's design. Even the sound of a notification, that cheerful ping, is calibrated to stimulate your nervous system. And the irony, you think you're playing the game, but the game is playing you. The Science of Persuasion. Behind every manipulation is a principle borrowed from psychology. Operant conditioning keeps you chasing rewards. Cognitive bias blinds you to the illusion of choice. Emotional priming makes you act before you think. These are not random coincidences. They're the result of decades of research. Experiments originally meant to understand the human mind, now repurposed to control it. Your feed isn't tailored to your interest, it's tailored to your weaknesses. It studies what makes you click, hesitate, or stay. Then it refines itself, learning how to keep you longer, how to sell more, how to convert you not once, but endlessly. It's not a salesman anymore, it's a scientist. And you are both the subject and the product. You can't outthink a system that knows you better than you know yourself, because it doesn't need to control your thoughts, only your impulses. Scarcity triggers fear. Social proof builds trust. Gamification hooks reward. Together they form the holy trinity of modern manipulation. A cycle designed not to sell you something once, but to sell you forever. In the old world, the con artist had to find his mark. In the digital world, the mark finds him. Part 4. Real-world repercussions. Every design choice has a consequence. Every click carries weight. When you combine fear, urgency, and manipulation, you don't just change behavior, you reshape identity. Dark patterns don't live in a code, they live in people. In the anxiety of compulsive scrolling, in the drained bank accounts from free trials, in the sleepless nights wondering, how did I get so hooked? How dark patterns damage minds. The digital world sells comfort, but it delivers dependency. Every app, feed, and pop-up is engineered to feed two psychological loops. Reward anticipation, the hope for something new, something better. Anxiety of absence, the panic when you miss out. When you pair these two emotions together, you create what researchers call compulsive engagement. It's not addiction to content, it's addiction to relief. The moment you log on, the unease starts. You refresh for validation. You scroll to escape silence. The truth, you don't enjoy the platform anymore. You just fear the emptiness without it. That's the mark of true manipulation, when you mistake control for comfort. The financial trap. Free isn't free. You've seen the words before. Start your free trial. Cancel anytime. But the cancellation link? Buried. The fine print? Hidden in micro font. Welcome to the Roach Motel. Easy to check in, nearly impossible to leave. This isn't carelessness, it's design psychology. They know the longer you'll stay, the more likely you'll forget, delay, or emotionally justify the cost. Netflix once tested removing "Are you still watching?" because they found it increased binge rates. Amazon's one-click checkout, engineered to skip the moment where your rational mind might say no. And when it's not subscriptions, it's microtransactions. Tiny, painless purchases, one after another, until the total hurts more than any single click ever could. $1 here, $2 there, 1,000 by the end of the year. You don't feel robbed because you volunteered. That's how dark patterns win, not through theft, but through consent you never realized you gave. The emotional cost, burnout by design. When attention becomes currency, mental exhaustion becomes the price. Constant alerts keep your body in low-level fight or flight state. Every buzz, ding, and badge triggers a tiny cortisol spike. It's not dramatic, it's drip torture, one micro stress at a time. You start to lose focus, your patience shortens, you confuse busy with productive, and when the platform goes silent, you feel withdrawal, a phantom vibration, a craving for another hit of digital validation. That's not poor discipline, that's neurological conditioning. You were trained to respond like Pavlov's dog, salivating at the sound of your own notifications. The loss of consent. Consent used to be simple. You said yes or you said no. But online, consent has been rewritten. Every checkbox, every agree and continue, every cookie banner is designed not to inform, but to exhaust. You're not agreeing because you understand. You're agreeing because you want the pop-up to go away. That's called consent fatigue, and it's one of the darkest patterns of all. Because when no becomes harder to find than yes, you're no longer choosing, you're submitting. You've become a data source, a behavioral lab rat, feeding the system that manipulates you. When companies get caught. In 2019, the Norwegian Consumer Council launched a report called Deceived by Design. It revealed that Facebook and Google were intentionally steering users into sharing data they didn't understand. Epic Games was fined for dark pattern loops that tricked players into accidental purchases in Fortnite. Amazon was forced by the FTC to redesign its Prime cancellation page after it was discovered that leaving the service required navigating 6 separate screens. Each case had one thing in common: deception was not a bug, it was a business model. And for every company that gets caught, a dozen more go unnoticed, because manipulation, once disguised as innovation, is now just called good UX. The human repercussion. We're told the internet is free, but it isn't. You pay with time, with trust, with fragments of attention you'll never get back. And maybe the worst part, the manipulation doesn't stop when you log off. It rewires how you think, how you choose, how you feel safe. The algorithm learns to whisper the right fears, the right temptations, the right triggers to keep you close. And once you finally notice, you realize the trap isn't on your screen anymore, it's in your mind. This is the cost of convenience, the invisible tax of every effortless click. They told us we were the customer, but we were the product all along. And in the grand experiment of the digital age, we didn't just sell our data, we sold our boundaries. The question isn't how deep the algorithm goes, it's how much of you it's already taken. Part 5. Reclaiming your digital autonomy. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Once you name the manipulation, it loses power. This is where the illusion begins to crack. Not when the code changes, but when you do. The digital world may have been built to control your behavior, but it still depends on one thing: your attention. And your attention is your weapon. Step 1. Recognize the design. The first step in reclaiming autonomy is awareness. Most dark patterns don't rely on deception, they rely on distraction. So when something feels too easy, too urgent, too emotional, just pause. Ask yourself, who benefits if I click this? Why is this button brighter than the others? Why do I feel like I'm running out of time? Design isn't neutral. Every color, sound, and micro interaction is crafted to influence. That's not paranoia, that's psychology. And the moment you begin to see the machinery behind the illusion, you stop being the target and start becoming the observer. Step 2. Rebuild digital boundaries. You don't have to abandon technology, you have to disarm it. Stay with the basics. Turn off non-essential notifications. Use Do Not Disturb mode during work or rest hours. Unsubscribe from auto-renewing trials you don't use. Install browser extensions like uBlock Origins, Privacy Badger, or Consent-O-Matic, tools that return control to you. It's not about deleting your apps, it's about removing the hooks they hide beneath convenience. Your attention isn't infinite, so treat it like the scarce resource it is. Think of it like a diet, not for your body, but for your mind. What you consume, you become. And when your digital diet is full of manipulation and outrage, you start to mistake noise for nourishment. Step 3. The power of intentional choice. You've probably heard the phrase, vote with your wallet. In the digital world, you can also vote with your clicks. Every second spent watching, scrolling, or liking is a signal to the algorithm saying, more of this please. So, choose what deserves your attention. If outrage drives the feed, don't feed it. If manipulation fuels engagement, disengage. If a company uses shame or confusion as tools, take your power elsewhere. Your silence is louder than your participation. Because when the system depends on your reaction, refusal becomes rebellion. Step 4. The collective awakening. You are not the only one waking up. Movements for ethical design and digital transparency are rising across the world. Countries like Norway, France, and the US have begun prosecuting deceptive interface design. Activists are exposing how platforms weaponize attention. Designers are speaking out against systems that exploit behavior. There's a phrase among UX professionals, design for good, not for gain. And slowly, the tide is turning. Because when awareness spreads, manipulation fails. When users demand honesty, deception becomes too costly to maintain. And when creators and coders refuse to build traps, the digital world starts to heal. Step 5. Reclaiming presence. Every dark pattern depends on one thing: your absence from the moment, your absence from reality. The algorithm feeds on distraction, so your greatest act of defiance is simply being present. Spend an hour without your phone. Have a conversation without glancing at a screen. Let silence fill the space that notifications once occupied. You'll start to notice something unexpected. The anxiety fades. Your thoughts return. Your mind feels lighter. That's not nostalgia, that's recovery. You were never supposed to live inside the machine. You were meant to see it and step outside of it. You were never powerless, just distracted. The algorithm isn't evil, it's indifferent. It doesn't care what you do, only that you do it endlessly. But when you start choosing intentionally, the spell breaks. You take back your time, your focus, your freedom. And that's the truth every manipulator fears. Once you understand the pattern, you can rewrite it. Beneath the algorithm, there's still a choice. And that choice is yours. The mind is a labyrinth, twisting, shifting, devouring itself. Most people get lost inside it, but not you. You've made it this far. Subscribe if you're ready to descend further. Leave a trace of yourself in the comments, a reminder that you were here, staring into the abyss with me. Until next time, remember, the abyss stares back.